This is Verse Project. Yet another game that at some point somebody told me was going to be the end of Star Citizen, and who knows? Who knows? Who knows? It's a different kind of game. This is a space sim, multiplayer, but it is based around just our solar system. So it's smaller in terms of scope, but it aims for quite a bit of detail, and it seems like they're going for a little bit more of a sim vibe. Now, I haven't played this yet. I do want to jump in game here shortly to try it out with you guys, maybe next week. I've got it downloaded here for the like current available offering, but I haven't actually gotten to check it out. They call this a single shard spaceflight experience, community-driven game universe with economics, faction warfare, and global events, an immersive exploration in a highly detailed physical space, fully generated 1-to-1 scale solar system based on real scientific data. So you got a whole bunch of opportunities that they're telling you here are going to be the focus for your career. And it's fairly similar to what Star Citizen offers. Mining, pew-pews, corporations, factions, that kind of stuff, exploration gameplay, and trading. Graphics are okay. It gives me kind of Space Engineers vibes, but does anybody remember what Star Citizen looked like when they first launched that alpha? The HUDs that I've seen so far look more sort of physically based and focused on, let's see, I thought I had here's a picture of one. Focused on being a little more like, some people will say NASA punk a little bit. It's let's see. He said it's a fully material based Unreal Engine 5, developing a space simulator in Unreal Engine. So this is one of the developers, Citizen Kai. He actually posts quite a bit on the Space Sim subreddit. This is the current version of the in-cockpit HUD. It's part of the 3D environment, not a separate UI overlay. Built entirely using materials, no UMG widgets. The game uses real-world scale, no gameplay-friendly simplifications. Similar to, I hear a lot of people when they see like the mobiGlass or the HUD in Star Citizen, and they're like, I want to press the buttons. No, I want to interact with that like it's physical rather than something I have to lock into as a UI. So I've seen some people really call that out as being interesting. If you're wondering what the camera type is, I believe it's first person. Now, they have a roadmap here, and they've been working through it over the last year or two, about year to year and a half. Starting out with a habitation zone demo, a hangar demo, They got ship flight in here, so you can kind of read through the more specifics of what's going on, modeling, texturing, VFX for the host station. Moving forward this year, they started out with orbital flight. So they got orbital flight systems figured out, orbital physics simulations, effects of celestial bodies' gravity. Getting, again, a little more into that space sim detail, a little Kerbal energy. Planetary System V1 came out this year with full-scale moon generation, close orbit surfaces around those moons, and orbital POIs. Got vehicle turrets to control and target, and a vehicle combat interface. Now, the big one I've been waiting for was the Q2 update. This was actually introducing planetary landing, which I think is a big part of being a space game nowadays. Sorry, Starfield. The update includes everything you need for our low orbit travel, landing, and surface travel. So they got this released, I think, maybe last month or 1 month before that. They got a vehicle landing interface, landing gear going, physics simulation for landing. They started doing resource extractors on planetary surfaces, so mineral extractions now available to players. The interface is available to players. Trading system V1. It is now possible to sell items at the station or other trading hubs, which is nice. Purchasing items at the station is available. Trading interface is fully functional. Vehicle cargo bays, cargo volume limits for specific vehicles, and then surface areas. This was the big one that I was really like waiting before I wanted to try it out, just because I think that gives them a better perspective. Beyond that, though, you can see that the roadmap keeps going. Planetary Systems V3. They're creating a foliage generation system. They've got derelict wreck extracting, life support system with oxygen consumption and replenishments coming in. This would be Q3 of 2025. Looks like they are 45% of the way done with this update. So definitely some more work to do. We won't be seeing that for a little while. But if you keep following it along, it does definitely have that sort of, that I don't want to say SC Lite, because I think that Star Citizen is still going for a much more widely featured game style. But this does seem like if you were going to take the Expanse universe and maybe make a space sim out of it, it might look something similar to this. That's not to say that they use all of the same physics of flight as the Expanse does. I know that's a big part of that. But it's a single solar system. It is much more old school feeling to me. And I think this is something that people might be interested in as a first or second or third or maybe fourth or fifth or sixth game. I don't know, however many games you play. Everybody's got that Steam wish list. I think this could be an interesting one, though, to keep in the back of your mind. Not saying that this is ready to be jumped in right now. That's what we'll be testing later when I actually get to play the game. But it does seem like something to keep an eye on over the next year or two. Now, the dev has been pretty active, like I said, in the Space Sim subreddit and answered a couple interesting questions. One of which was, God, why is this white? One of which was, here we go. So this person asked, how does this differ from spacecraft? We've gone over spacecraft here on the channel before. Kind of a combination of like Dyson Sphere Project and Satisfactory-ish, Imperium kind of. Like it's a space adventure building game, basically. But the dev says, we don't focus on building, crafting, or the entire galaxy. We're working on a multiplayer immersive experience in the solar system. So when it comes to things like base building and crafting, not necessarily something to expect here. This is more of an exploration-focused game. And he even goes further to clarify that here. So somebody says that they want a single-player game because multiplayer is always online. Garbo. And he said, thank you, but I think there are some good single-player games in a similar setting. Now, this person responded with, well, except Elite Dangerous, Star Citizen, No Man's Sky are all multiplayer. I would say No Man's Sky feels more like a single-player game, to be honest. But the developer responds by saying, multiplayer that is focused on exploration rather than PvP. That's great, and that's what we are doing. So they have some goal of being a little bit less combat focused, even though if you go to their main page and it talks about combat here, space battles, it does sound like at least the dev wants to give the idea that this is a little more exploration and curiosity focused than it is getting into conflict. So I think that's yet another thing that might catch some people and perk some ears. If you're looking for a game that's more about exploration in a kind of more realistic space sim environment, this might be for you. Here's a look at one of the space stations in the game. And here's a concept image of some of the ships. So this is just to give you some of the vibes of what they're going for. Again, I think it hits that more tactile, quote unquote, NASA punk feel that people have been talking about when it comes to Starfield. And I like the design languages. It just had an update recently. It looks like this is third person. So I'm not even sure if it's actually going to be first person. I thought it was. But this is showing off. I'll read his own caption. A quick work in progress test demonstrating field of view scaling in a large scale environment. The goal is to maintain a sense of scale and detail during movement through vast procedural spaces. Custom built world streaming system for a real scale solar system simulation. Seamless traversal with no loading screens. This test demonstrates loading and rendering for a space station orbiting around the moon at a distance of 10 kilometers. This is the kind of stuff that got people pretty interested in Star Citizen too, not gonna lie. I still remember when he landed on Lear 3, they looked up at the space station. That whole vibe. But if you want to see more updates on this, I would just check out the Space Sim subreddit. He drops them like I think once a month, maybe once every 2 months. Or even better, you could check out my new series, Space Games Weekly, which is a new video series I'm publishing every Monday. I'm trying to hit every Monday. That goes over just the different news that's hitting games like this. Space games, sci-fi games, Dune Awakening, Star Citizen, Elite Dangerous, Jump Ship, Exodus, Osiris, Reborn, whatever it might be. My goal is to try and gather up the interesting games in the genre that I think people would like and presenting them in a fun format on a reliable timescale going forward for who knows how long. Big shout out and thanks to anybody who has checked that video series out. I just posted the first one this week. And if you've ever done YouTube, you know it's difficult to drop new types of content on an existing channel. So anybody who has checked that out, your view goes a lot longer than you think. Quick look at Verse Project. Again, something I think that people will be interested in. Sounds like it is still pretty early days, which I know we're all triggered by that phrase, but I do think that this is something to keep an eye on along with all the other amazing space games that we see being developed. Keep an eye on this.